Joe was a conductor that worked both for the Southern United Railroad and the Denville and Western. Larry likes working with him the most because he's very smart and knows how to handle any situation that might occur out on the tracks. One day, Joe was assigned to Larry's train that he was supposed to pick up from the rock quarry. He spoke with Larry's crew about the run ahead and asked the brakeman to check the train. After a while, he said, "Well, better go and check the train." "But Joe," Larry said, puzzled, "you already asked the brakeman to do it." "I always say, Larry," Joe said importantly, "trust no one, not even yourself." Then he went to check the train. Once Joe gave the all clear, Larry departed. As he made his way along the line to the seaport, Joe's words swirled in his smoke box. When he arrived at the seaport, he told Taylor and Kryssy what Joe had said. Taylor and Kryssy exchanged worried looks. They hoped Larry wouldn't take what Joe said too literally. I am very sorry to say that our friend Larry did. The next day, he was hauling a passenger train. He passed a distance signal that showed clear. But then Larry second-guessed himself. He quickly slammed on his brakes, nearly throwing his crew into the controls and causing the passenger cars to bump into each other. "Hey, watch it!" "What happened, Larry?" asked his driver. "Is everything all right?" "I wasn't sure if that signal back there was really green. Joe always says trust no one, not even yourself." "Larry," sighed his driver, "look ahead. The home signal is green." Larry felt foolish. "Sorry, everyone." "That's all right," said his driver. But the passenger cars weren't so forgiving. "He's so stupid," they cried. The next afternoon, Christian brought in a train for Larry to take down the Montrose branch. Instead of moving forward to take his place at the front of the train, Larry backed down the side of it and came up the other side. "What was that for?" asked Christian. "I'm just making sure all the cars are there, that's all," answered Larry. "But Bernard shunted the train," puffed Christian. "He doesn't make those kind of mistakes." "Trust no one, not even yourself," said Larry. Christian, completely taken aback, just puffed away so Larry could take his place at the front of the train. All that week, Larry checked and rechecked himself, railroad staff, and other engines. Some ignored him, while others got very cross. One Friday morning, Larry's crew were finding it very hard to steam him up. Larry was anxious. He knew he had a lot to do today. Soon he got steam up and made his way to Denville, but by this time he was running very late. When he arrived at Denville, Mr. McCormick was waiting for him. "Do me a favor, can you take these ballast cars with you and drop them off at the siding at Malta, just past Andale Station?" Larry really didn't want to. He was delayed as it is. But he couldn't say no to Mr. McCormick, so he agreed. Larry desperately tried to make up for lost time. He stormed up hills, rumbled over bridges, and struggled through stations. Soon he arrived at the siding at Malta. He dropped off the ballast cars and then coupled onto his own train. The brakeman was supposed to set the brakes on all the hoppers, but he didn't. Normally, Larry would have had his driver and fireman double check after him, but he was running so late he didn't think about it. Once Larry was out of sight, the ballast hoppers began to move. They rolled through the switch and onto the main line, gathering speed. The ballast cars were enjoying themselves, but it wasn't to last. Ahead on the station siding was Allie. She was taking a well-earned rest until she saw the runaway ballast cars. "Oh no!" she cried. There was nothing she could do but shut her eyes. The crash jumped to bounty campus right into the station wall. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and the hoppers remained on the rails. But it was a terrible mess. The passengers waiting on the platform thought the whole station was going to collapse and ran for their lives. Allie's fireman quickly climbed into Allie's cab to shut off her steam and put out her fire, while Allie's driver called for help. Help couldn't arrive until late in the afternoon. Kryssy came to pull the cars away and also brought supplies to stabilize the station. Joe was the conductor for the rescue train, and Mr. Egan came to see what had happened. As the rescue was going on, Larry arrived with some empty hoppers. "What happened?" he laughed. "You let those cars get the best of you, Allie." "Actually, Larry," said Kryssy slowly, "these are your cars." Larry looked up and saw it's the same ballast cars he had dropped off earlier. "But that's impossible. How did they get there?" "They rolled out of that siding after you left," snapped Mr. Egan. "Obviously, their brakes weren't on." "But that's not my fault," protested Larry. "Their brakeman should have set the brakes." "But what do I always tell you?" said Joe. "What's the #1 rule?" Larry sighed. "Trust no one, not even yourself." "That's right," said Joe. "Trust no one." Larry was sorry at once. He apologized to Allie. He volunteered to clean up the mess and asked Kryssy to take his train on for him. By nightfall, Allie had been rescued. The station wall was temporarily covered up by plywood. Allie's tender was badly damaged, so it had to be loaded onto a flatbed and taken to Harmon Works. While Larry was waiting to take the rescue train away, Taylor arrived. She had heard the whole story. "I guess you picked the wrong time to trust someone," teased Taylor. "I certainly deserve that," Larry said sheepishly. "I'm sorry about annoying everyone." "You know, Larry," said Joe, "if you had caught those cars before you had pulled off, no one would have known anything. Like I say, it's not a mistake unless someone else catches it." Sighed Larry. "That means I could be just as careless as I want as long as I clean up after myself." "Larry?" Taylor said. Then Larry laughed. "I'm only teasing." Then Taylor and Joe laughed. "From now on," said Larry, "I'm gonna check over other engines and railroad staff that I work with, but I'm not gonna be too overbearing. And when I'm in a rush, I'm not gonna let my guard down." Taylor, Joe, and especially Allie hoped Larry would stick to that. But I think our friend Larry will. Don't you?
Rules and tables like that now. D&D, so we call it Dumb and Dumber. It's John Samar. It's the NS crew. Yeah, so they stop. Watco takes care of all Phillips 66's other plants. All of them. And we were the only one that Watco didn't do. And they wanted Watco then.